All right, what's up, guys? I got Brian Kavanagh on the line here with Vermont assistant coach. Brian, how we doing up there?
I'm doing well, Corey. What's up, man?
We're doing good. We're doing good. I mean, I've been at home for over 3 weeks now, so that's it's been interesting.
Same.
So where do you live relative to campus? Where are you at right now?
I'm right down the street from campus. I'm like 2 stoplights away, so it's
Nice.
a pretty easy commute. Under a 2 mile commute for me every single day. So
What do you
not
got?
too bad.
You got like a moped? How do you get to work?
I wish all of our guys have mopeds. I got my car, but like our guys roll deep. You'll see them like 25, 30 guys at a time, rolling the mopeds from downtown up to campus, and it's become a bit of an issue with parking and public safety and all that tickets. But yeah, I've been thinking about getting in the gang.
Yeah, you got to go through like an initiation or something. Uh,
Yeah,
talk a little bit about Vermont as a school. Like, talk about Burlington. You know, what makes the school a little bit unique, and like, why it's a really hot school, especially in New York. I mean, I'm talking athletes, students, you name it. Like, it's
yeah.
it's become a really hot school to try to get into down here. Talk about what the buzz is all about.
I mean, it's gorgeous. That's first and foremost. Like, I mean, we were just talking before we start recording. I hadn't been to the state of Vermont until I took the job, let alone Burlington. And whenever we get people up here, I have friends visit from Long Island that have never been here either, and it's like this place is, the last great hidden gem.
Yeah.
People just haven't seen it in person. It's beautiful. It's right on Lake Champlain, which is gorgeous. Year round. The fall is unbelievable. People literally come from all over the country and Canada to just watch the leaves change colors, which is something that I didn't know happened. It's called leaf changing season. So that's like one of the first things I learned about Vermont. But yeah, it's just great. It's an unbelievable downtown area, Church Street. If you've ever been to, you ever been to Boulder, Colorado?
Yes, I have.
What is
Beautiful.
it there? Pearl Street. What's that downtown area? It's
Oh, I don't
literally
know. Yeah.
Church Street is like an exact carbon copy of that. It's
Okay.
actually
Cool.
it was the same exact architect or designer or whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure, but it's literally the exact same thing. It's just a little bit of a smaller version. Great restaurants, great music scene, really young, like enthusiastic, active lifestyle. So it's a very cool spot. Mountains, obviously, for hiking, skiing, that you can see from campus. It's got it all. So it's definitely a hidden gem as far as New Yorkers and Long Islanders are concerned. I think just a lot of people don't get the opportunity to get up here and see it.
Sure. Now, you mentioned before you even got to Vermont, hadn't been a place you'd ever been before. Talk about your coaching journey. Where were you in the college ranks? Before you kind of got to Vermont, and talk about like, why you kind of made the decision to become a college coach.
Yeah. So I mean, Vermont, it was actually my first college coaching gig. So this is the only school I've been at. Um, I was pretty young when I got here as a volunteer. I was 23 years old, and I'd spent a year in California before that, coaching high school with a couple buddies. Just kind of moved out for a year, just kind of not really knowing what our futures hold. I was with Tom Schreiber and Brendan Fowler, so obviously those guys were still playing. So it didn't really matter where they were in the country. They just want to kind of be somewhere fun and be able to have time to train and play in the summers. And we were coaching at a high school together, J. Sarah High School in Orange County.
Mhm.
So we were just kind of living on the coast, like right down the street from the beach in California for a year. And before that, my first coaching job was with you guys.
Mhm.
Fresh out of college, I coached with FLG. I coached the 2021 boys when they were sixth graders. So it's kind of funny now that they're,
Crazy.
approaching the college ranks, and I'm having to talk to a few of them. But uh, it's been kind of a wild journey. I started in the club scene and then coached high school for a year, and then the next year realized I wanted to get into college, and things just kind of fell into place with different relationships, and just took a leap of faith and went from Orange County, California to Burlington, Vermont, which was a pretty big jump, but it's been a pretty good decision for me.
Talk a little bit about how maybe the program has changed since you've been there, just kind of just from observing and being a part of it, and then also how has kind of like your role as a coach on the team changed since you've been there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely changed a ton. Just going from first year being a volunteer and primarily being a goalie, just working with with the goalies pretty much my first year, and kind of learning the ropes, and just learning a little bit more about the college landscape than anything else, recruiting and day-to-day operations, and how that stuff all goes down, because it's a different animal, right, from being in high school and purely just doing X's and O's.
Mhm.
Um, but we've really put a focus on just rebuilding culture, first and foremost. Our head coach, Chris Fifes, coming from University of North Carolina, he was there for 7 years as their D coordinator, his last year being when they won the national championship. And then our other assistant coach, Jake Bernhardt, Maryland grad, one of the best players in the world right now, still playing, and he coaches our offense. He started off coaching the defense, and then once I got bumped up and started running the defense with Coach Fifes, Jake's taken over the offense. But the first few years, it really wasn't even about the lacrosse. It was about kind of establishing what our goals were as a program, who we wanted to be. Our team motto is team before self. And we just wanted to kind of bring in, the most selfless, hardworking individuals we could find that were going to buy into, greater success that the program had achieved. There were some really talented players here, and we just needed to kind of weed out some of the bad apples as far as the culture was concerned, and get everybody on the same page. So there was a little bit of, turnover in the beginning, losing some guys and dismissing some guys from the program, or guys deciding they didn't want to be a part of something that was as serious as we wanted to make it. Because, we wanted to become a program that was competing for conference championships and eventually national championships. So now in year 4, I feel like we've officially turned that corner, going to 2 straight America East championship games. We're trying to take those next steps, and we're finally getting our recruits in with our guys that have been here, upperclassmen that have bought in, to our message when we first got here, and everything's kind of on the right track.
So when you build a program around a culture that's, team before self, what tends to happen? You notice for example, when you bring in a kid maybe who's unselfish on the field, maybe there's more passing and there's more assisted goals on the offensive end. What are other things that you're noticing on the team over the course of, this development over the last 4 years or so since Coach Fifes has come in and whatnot? Maybe on the defensive side of the ball, maybe off the field, maybe in the locker room, that kind of embodies that selfless kind of culture.
Yeah, it really is. In a lot of ways, it is more about off the field, right? I think in a lot of ways, it's just individual lifestyle decisions. Maybe you're not going as hard. Everybody knows what college culture is like. You want to have fun on the weekends and socialize, and you want to be a well-rounded person, not just, a lacrosse robot. And by all means, we, encourage our guys to have fun and blow off steam when there's opportunities, but it's, maybe deciding to tailor that piece back a little bit, focus more on, make a decision that I'm going to stay in on a weekend and catch up on schoolwork because I know I've got a hard week of practice coming up. It's just individual decisions that I think there's a bit of a trickle down effect, right, from leadership when you have older guys that are starting to make those decisions and make sacrifices. Younger guys see it, and it's just a domino effect. And as soon as you get a couple guys to buy in, just slowly but surely, more and more fall in place.
No doubt. And then as we talk maybe a little bit more about the on-field stuff, how would you describe the makeup of how your style play is, and the makeup of maybe some of the athletes and lacrosse players that are on Vermont?
For sure. We're very simple as far as our schemes, and we don't like to be overbearing and controlling our players. We like to recruit guys that are smart and can think for themselves, and that's kind of how we teach in the off season. There's very few basic principles to our team offense and team defense in general. It's just here's some basic rules and guidelines, and go play within that system. Go have fun, go be the player that you are, and be creative. Something that we've tried to do the last couple of years now that we've gotten some more of our own recruits in is play a little bit more up tempo and create a transition game, because traditionally we've been very strong defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been lucky to have good goalies and be able to take a little bit more risks on the offensive end, as far as where we're creating scoring opportunities. So we've tried to get more athletes in the middle of the field as far as our defensive midfielders and our LSMs, We have a stud freshman right now who's scored a couple. I know obviously we only played four games on the season, but he's made a huge impact. And Nick Alvidi, who's a new Fairfield, Connecticut product. So we're really excited about the future there. But yeah, our style of play is very relaxed. We have it goes into that team before self mentality. It's really just the culture, creating the culture of being accountable and following the rules, and then within that very fixed guideline, like you're free to do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's very freelance. It's very open. We have a lot of Canadians, so there's a ton of kind of indoor box 2-man game influence and a little bit of flash that comes with that. Everybody knows, and Jake has kind of done a great job of letting guys be who they are within the offense.
Now, I noticed you got the Princeton Tiger poster in the background.
Yeah.
Lacrosse. You're a Tiger. Talk about your influence of being a part of the Princeton Tiger Lacrosse program and community, and maybe how that's influenced you as a coach, today.
Yeah, I mean, Princeton's an unbelievable place in general, but the lacrosse program it's unbelievable. And really, it just goes back to, I mean, everything in lacrosse I think is relationship based. It's really about the people, and that's kind of what's pushed me to get into college coaching and stick around a locker room setting and just be around guys. I mean, my best friends, all my best relationships. I met my girlfriend at Princeton. She was an athlete as well, playing hockey there. It's just, it's second to none. I feel like everybody obviously has their own, has a similar college experience, loves where they went, but that there's nothing like the Princeton experience, in my opinion, and just the camaraderie of the alumni and how tight it still is. I talk to guys on a daily basis, and it's just the best memories of my life were there. Didn't achieve everything that I wanted to, obviously, as an individual player or any of our team goals. I went there wanting to win a national championship and didn't get that done, and that's definitely fueled a little bit of a fire for me moving forward as a coach. But yeah, unbelievable place, incredible people. Can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we have 2 minutes left here. I always like to leave it with a little piece of advice for you. Like you said, there's a little bit of stress surrounded with, high school student athletes, recruits, whether they're committed or they're still going through the process. And there's just, I think a lot of that stress just comes from the uncertainty. And there's a lot of variables that are going to go into, how kids can maybe, get some additional looks, have conversations, and, be seen when they're expected to be seen. But again, we don't know what's going to happen over the next few months here. What's maybe something that you can do to communicate to those kids that maybe are still going through the process or might even be committed or whatever it may be, that might kind of help them out a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, especially in a time like this, I feel like we're all kind of, we're getting a little bit more comfortable with our situation now, kind of accepting that this is kind of going to be the norm for a little bit. And, I think we just got to embrace it as an opportunity. For me personally, college coaching, it's kind of it's busy. It doesn't really slow down a ton. This is the most free time I've had, probably since I had just graduated college and, was unemployed and living at home with my parents and kind of figuring out my life. So I'm not used to having this much downtime. I'm sure everybody's not used to having this much downtime. You just got to try to use it and spin it into a positive light. There's a ton of content that's out. I've probably watched more film in the last 2 weeks than I have, my entire life. I've rewatched all of our games.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched old games. Adam Gittleman, I'm sure you've seen what he's doing on Twitter with his Blacks Film Study, posting old games.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of people out there posting, content. I saw you post something the other day, some shooting drills and tips, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's sharing what they've got. I think, use this free time as an opportunity to watch more lacrosse,
Yep,
whether
no
it's
doubt.
games or instructional bits or, whatever it may be. Just you have to use it as a positive. You can't just be stressed out and cooped up, and, get out and practice, watch film,
Mm-hmm.
ask questions. That's probably the biggest piece of advice that I give our guys is, learn how to ask for help. It's
Mm-hmm.
a tough thing, I think, for a lot of young, successful athletes in general is, whether it's swallowing your pride or
Yeah.
dealing with ego, trying to figure out how to ask for help, reach out to people and ask for, their opinions and their stories. And I think that's all really helpful. So just
That's
trying to spin it into a positive.
Yeah, that's amazing. But BK, you'd appreciate this. I literally have this on my desk. I just listened to a podcast, which I'm going to send you.
Yeah.
And the podcast is about asking for help. And there's basically 5 action items that this guy developed, because a lot of times what happens is people ask for help and it's very general.
Mhm.
And a lot of times if you just kind of like generally ask for something, it's very hard for the person that you're asking advice from to kind of deliver.
Yeah.
So he talks about the 5 things and he uses the acronym SMART: specific, that's the S; meaningful, so like that's the why of whatever it is that you're asking. The A is action oriented. The R is real, so it's not just something that it's like, hey, this would be really cool. It's like, no, like this is something that needs to be done. Here's why, obviously. And then the last one in the T is time bound. So like kind of create like a deadline. Listen, like, I really got to get on this call with you. I need it done by Sunday because we're hoping to, get it recorded and we want to launch it the following week. So that way the Long Island lacrosse community can hear about how awesome Vermont is. And I just love that, because I know for me personally, sometimes I'm like, I'm like a figured out myself type of guy. Like the
100%.
last thing are you like that too? Where the last thing you'll do is actually
Yeah.
ask for help. Yeah.
I mean, that was the hardest thing for me. That's awesome that you bring that up, because I mean, it was the hardest thing for me to learn as a college student.
Yeah.
Just getting to Princeton, and like, obviously I'd been challenged in other ways before, but never really academically to that level. And having to like admit that I needed help was a hard thing to do. It was always kind of just like crawl into your hole and you'll figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
However long it takes. But there's people out there that want to help. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
There's people out there that it's literally their job or it's their passion to help others.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to ask for help, you're going to get it in whatever capacity, you need. It's just you having to be willing to take that first step and admit that A, you don't know what you're doing with something, and B, understanding that there's people that do understand it and want to help you.
Yeah, no
Um,
doubt. Well, listen, man, we appreciate the advice and the time. It's going to be tremendous in terms of helping along the lacrosse community. We're excited to promote Vermont. Where else can guys kind of follow you guys, whether it be during the season, all year round, social media? What are your
Yeah, our social media across all platforms, Twitter and Instagram, is just at UVM MLax for men's lax. Our social media team does a pretty good job of pumping stuff out and information about camps and clinics and whatever else, and just game updates. Obviously, those are few and far between these days, but yeah, at UVM men's lax. That's pretty much where everything's at.
awesome, Coach BK? We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Cor.